Welcome, 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 everybody, to another Sunday of When Black Women Gather. My name is Helen Higginbotham, and I'm here today with Juanda Honore and her special guest, Miss Daphne Evans. And they're going to talk to us about Black women, not just surviving, but thriving. And they'll talk about it from um, I guess, a holistic wellness perspective as well as the financial perspective of how we should be taking care of ourselves. So, thank you, ladies, for agreeing to do this. And Wanda, you need no introduction. You've been here before. I'm just going to step off and let you ladies do your thing. I will be in the background helping with monitoring chats and things of those natures. Lady, if you're ladies who are on the call, if you have any questions or comments that you want to make, you can place them in the chats, or you can raise your hand and I'll try and grab it and bring you on screen if you want, or if you can just ask your question. So Wanda wants an interactive conversation, so you don't have to wait until the end. So when a question pops in your mind, feel free to ask it. And again, thank you, ladies.
Okay, well, thank you so much and good afternoon, sisters. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. I really appreciate this space that Helen has created for us to be able to come together and remind ourselves and the world that Black women are we're the backbone of families and communities, and we're also visionaries, builders, and trailblazers. And so today I want to pause and just reflect on a simple question. Are we surviving or are we truly thriving? That's something that I think is very important that I just want to take a moment and just ask you to kind of think about your own journey. Do you feel that you're in survival mode or do you really feel that you're thriving currently in your life? And so, with that, survival is about getting through. Thriving is about living fully with joy, purpose, and freedom. So, before we go further, I also want you to think about what does thriving look like for you right now? And if you have any thoughts on that you'd like to share with the other ladies, if you would maybe drop your comments in the chat, or you can share it out loud. Either one. What does thriving look like for you, so we can maybe kind of talk about what different people's idea of thriving is.
I'm going to say, this is Helen. Um, when you mentioned peace, I think considering the climate that we're in, survival right now is about how are you measuring your peace. Oh, and that's what Carrie Ann put in the chats too. But yeah, so for me, it would be being in a peaceful place. And I see you have a hand there. Is that is that you, Selena? I don't know whose hand that is. SK?
Oh, that's me, Sharon.
Oh, Sharon. Okay, so it's two SKs. All right, go ahead.
Mm.
Sharon.
Good evening, all you beautiful, beautiful ladies. I am going to acknowledge that for me, currently I am out of or leaving my journey of survivalship. Um, I think I've spent a lot of time revving up to my maximum and going from either project, business, job, family, calamity, whether these are good things or bad, running at that same speed, that same gotta go, gotta get, gotta get. And at 45, I'm now realizing that I have built no space for me in my own life. Like my whole life requires me to run at 110%. And if I don't, then it collapses. So with this move to where I am now, I'm actually breaking down all of the structures and expectations that I put on myself that to box me in from really feeling, emoting, and then thriving and I guess journeying through to a point where I am 100% on all, and that includes rest, and that includes myself and my budget. That includes the things that make me smile simply because it makes me smile.
Wow, that's definitely on point in regards to a lot of the things that reasons why this whole conversation came about. We have some other comments before I'll kind of address some of those. One person said feeling safe, Miss Augustine, and then Sora says maintaining the peace and having the financial stability that is a Teflon, against what's currently going on with our government and society. And so, obviously, thriving means, something different to all of us, but in the overall scope of things, it kind of means something about being at like someone already said, or several people already said, being at peace. Some the things that make you be at peace, not have to worry about what's happening tomorrow, today, and being in a position where we have control. Control is a big part of thriving, controlling what's going on with your life. What I'll say is that at an early age, 23, I lost my mother. And my mother was my biggest role model, and she was my strength, and she was a person that I saw keep our family together throughout the years. And so, she raised myself and my sister. She cared for our parents, and she gave us the best of everything that she could. While working, she continued to work, until the time that unfortunately, she passed, and she sacrificed a lot. And, I always, without knowing, the conversation that I'm talking about now, at the time, I always wondered, was my mother able to really ever, um, thrive, per se? I'm saying thrive now because back then I just thought about the fact of her happiness. And, when she passed away just a week before her 57th birthday, it really changed my whole life because I watched her give so much, to myself, my sister, and her parents and everyone. And, and I didn't want to be that person that left this life and didn't enjoy it and do the things that I really wanted to do. And I wanted to have independence, and I wanted to most of all leave the type of legacy that I really wanted to leave. And so, having lost my mother at an early age, my path was definitely not smooth from that point forward. I tried, business ownership shortly after she passed, and there were some failures, with that. I went into real estate. I went into community advocacy, say it right. And, there were some challenges there. I ended up having to file bankruptcy. I lost a lot of real estate that I invested in. And I was constantly in that start over again mode. And as a result, I had left the workforce. And then I found myself in my 50s having to return to the workforce. And that was something that was really a rude awakening for me because I only then started to really understand how much being a Black woman changed the scenario of how I was even looked at in the workforce. I mean, I don't know why, but at some point, initially, I thought I was just an equal. I never thought about the fact that I was, a Black female. A lot of times I was younger. In the field that I was in, which was a law enforcement, I just thought because I felt I had proven myself that I was not looked upon, any differently, and that it was based upon my achievements. And I, slowly though, when I came back to the workforce at an older age, it was more apparent to me. And I think that's a lot of the challenges that our young people sometimes, I've watched where as older women and being more experienced, you recognize certain things, and you've had other women that have passed down information to you to share about the things that they have experienced and to help you avoid those things. And there have been support groups and programs and associations and things. But as I watch a lot of the younger women that I've watched come into the workforce and not really understand that these types of challenges exist. And when I came back into the workforce, I recognized that these challenges were definitely, there. And I had to now navigate through them in my 50s. And that was crazy for me to try to figure this out, as a over 50-year-old woman, now trying to navigate being back into a workforce where I'm dealing with a lot of young people who aren't even realizing that they're discriminating against me because I'm an older Black woman. And then I heard some information on the radio that kind of changed things for me a little bit. And it kind of helped me start looking into things along the lines of finances and seeing the possibilities. And it was at that point that I kind of saw myself in a different industry that I had not considered before. And I'm bringing that up not to talk about financial services and things of that nature, but just to talk about the space that I think a lot of us find ourselves in, where, we may be in a situation that is not working for us, but because we're older, we feel that we're kind of trapped in that we can't pivot from that space into another one because we've spent so much time and so much energy, in the one that we're in. And maybe we don't know the pathway to do something outside of what we're currently doing. And so we just kind of grind and bear and just try to figure out how we're going to endure. But, let's be real. We're in most of our spaces that we find ourselves, especially in work, we're overlooked, undervalued, and dismissed. We've seen that even a lot more, recently. And at the same time, we're still having to uphold our household. A lot of times there's not a lot of support because maybe there's just a lot of young people that we're trying to take care of, whether they be underage or even those that are older, young adults that still need our support. And then we have our parents and our grandparents. And so balancing caregiving, financial pressures, and businesses, that barely really allow us to break even, allow us many times to feel that we are just surviving. We're just trying to make it day by day. And as a result, it kind of changes our whole persona. And what I wanted to achieve today was just to talk about my whole journey of how I decided that surviving was not going to be, my final story, nor should it be yours. And that thriving, being able to reclaim your joy, building, independence for yourself, creating a legacy, which is what really drives me, because I don't have that family that my parents are gone. I don't have any children. I don't have a spouse. I have extended family, but my focus still is on creating a legacy to leave behind for those that I care about. And part of that legacy is not just about leaving out money, but it's also leaving about an opportunity and opportunities to allow for them to understand how to thrive as well by being that example. And so I created a framework that I call LIFT. And LIFT is about learning, being willing to seek new skills and mindsets. That's very important. We can't get so fixated with the fact that, we've always done this. We've already gone through all the, the various schools that we've gone through, and we kind of learned a certain thing, and we're used to doing things in a certain way, because as life evolves, everything is evolving, and we've got to continue to evolve. And then we have to also investing in ourselves. And that means both our health, because that's the most important. We got to make sure that we're doing things to maintain our health. I think I mentioned to those of you that were on, or you heard that I have a girlfriend that's on. That's I call her my skating buddy, and we actually a walk or walk run together, and actually play pickleball. I guess she's talking a lot of things. My soror also, I know she walks on a regular basis. But that's very important that we find something that we enjoy doing, and that we spend that time to make sure that we're doing things to maintain our health. Finances. In order to actually keep our finances together, sometimes we got to also invest a little money to do that, and understanding how to do that in a proper way, and then being prepared that hopefully we want to leave behind a legacy, investing, in the fact that we want to be able to make sure that those that come after us are not having to be the same challenges and that we leave this earth better than what we left it. And then the F, focus, redirecting our energy to your dreams. I think all of us at one point dreamed. I mean, when I was, before my mother passed, especially, I was still dreaming about things that I wanted to do, things that I wanted to achieve. And I think as we get older, we, young, kids, you talk to kids, we ask them what they want to do, what they want to be, and they'll give you these ideas that we think, hey, how are they going to achieve that? But they don't think about that. We do. We're kind of pigeoned into this, this fishbowl, so to speak, where we see only what's immediately around us because we're just stuck in all the things that we have going around, as opposed to being able to start dreaming again and not continually building other people's dreams. Because the most work places and positions that we are working in, they're about helping someone else's dream, something else that somebody created, something that they now are employing people like us to fulfill. Why are we continually doing that when we have the talent, we have those the dreams that we can also pursue? We just have to understand how to make it work. And then lastly, transforming. When you learn, invest, and focus, you're able to start to transform. You're able to start to have a different mindset. And I think my mindset was always different, good for good or worse. That's probably why I'm not married, is that I was always thinking about, how I could achieve something different. I was reading plans for businesses when other people were out, having parties or having, babies or what have you. And, I don't know fully, except for the fact of my mother, passing at the age that kind of motivated me with that. But even before that, like I was saying, I dreamed about being able to be financially independent. And so these are things that, we really have to kind of think about. And I want to ask you, when I talk about the framework of learn, invest, focus, and transform, where are you right now? What aspect of that might you be, utilizing or thinking or a part or be focusing on as part of your life right now? Does anyone want to share where they are in regards to the learning, investing, the focusing, or the transformation? All right, we'll continue on. So,
Wanda,
yes.
I'll share. I'm because a little outside. I'm no longer transforming. I am growing, but not transforming. And I'm riding the wave of what I've worked for and strive for. So my transformation is to stay as young as I can, mentally and physically. So as I said, I'm still maintaining. And that was from the preparation of retirement, which is what I'm in now.
Okay. Well, thank you. And so, regardless of, obviously, I mean, everyone is at some point or has some aspect of what I'm talking about with the lift framework that they are actually dealing with. Whether or not you're learning something new, whether or not you're investing something in yourself that's going to make some changes, or whether or not you're thinking about focusing on a thing. And hopefully that's something that you may be thinking of. We are looking, or even in my sorry sister said, she's trying to maintain her transformation because now she's in retirement, and so that's a big a transformation. But sometimes that transformation, creates other challenges, for ourselves. And so that's part of what I'm also trying here to talk about, because we're in a digital age, and that digital age, I know for a long time I didn't embrace it. I just felt it was about young people and these gadgets and information and what have you. And it was something that I really didn't need to pay a lot of attention to because I'm older and I've gotten through life, to this point without it. And so, I can pretty much not have to worry about it. But as life continued on, and I realized that was definitely the wrong way to think about things, because the digital age is what is going to allow persons like me, like you, that may be looking at what's next in their life. What's the next chapter? What do I need to be doing? How do I need to break? It's what's going to allow us to be able to achieve that. It's going to allow a grandmother who is, very good at making recipes, or, cooks dinners or whatever, to get on YouTube and create a whole catering empire, so to speak, just by being able to share those recipes. Or someone that's a teacher that, tutors, and she's tutoring maybe initially one or two persons that are able to come to her house, but now she's in the space where she can actually offer those services across the country. Or a person that has a craft and then creates some type of Etsy shop and turns that into something where it's a brand, whether they have some type of product or design or something that they created. And so these are all examples of how digital tools have leveled the playing field. And so whether you're 30 or 70, you can create influence and impact just based on the fact that you have the knowledge of this. And it's something that's very, very relevant to my life recently, because this is what I have had to do over the last several months that I never thought I would be doing. I had started off, in the financial literacy space once I kind of pivoted from the fact that what I was doing in law enforcement and public safety was not where I really wanted to continue and was not the best place for me. And I was just dealing with people on an individual basis. And that was good initially. Things happened that actually accelerate the fact that I was forced to kind of look more into technology and being online and being able to reach people, because we weren't, during the COVID situation, we weren't able to have that type of engagement where we were one-on-one. And so we were able now to start reaching people across the country, in ways that we hadn't done, and then in recent times, I Facebook had always existed. I always thought, hey, Facebook is something where I don't really want to be a big part of. Being in law enforcement, that was kind of a thing too, that you didn't want to have a lot of your information, because obviously law enforcement is not looked upon very favorably, no matter, who you are, whether you're a Black female or someone else. And so, and I didn't want people knowing my business. I was kind of private. I said, I don't want people knowing my business. So I would get on there from time to time and just look at what other things were on there. but it wasn't something where I thought about that I would ever utilize in the way that I have recently, and then even more recently, Instagram. Instagram is something that, even though I said, okay, I got on Facebook, and I'll share information on Facebook because it allows me to connect with family and friends, and there's some fun things on things I said. But that Instagram, that's just for younger people because it's something that's quick, fast. I saw a lot of stuff, and you see a lot of crazy things, obviously, on social media that you don't want to be a part of. But it also has you have to keep your mind open to also realize that there's a lot of benefits of learning these types of tools and how they can actually you can utilize. Because as a person in their 60s, I've learned that this is the way now for me to be able to thrive in what I'm doing, because I can take something that I thought didn't have anything to do with me or anything to do with my business or make any real difference, and it was just about maybe somebody that was a millennial or somebody younger, and now I'm actually using these tools to be able to change the way that I do business in ways that I never thought. And when you're able to thrive and utilize information that has always been available to us, but really has not been something that the average person, my age, I believe, has really taken advantage of. And from the conversation that we had a few weeks ago, where we were talking about where the state of Black women and what was happening with us being pushed out of the workforce, and us having all these things happening, which basically is causing us to be in a survival mode continually. I thought that it was important to just share, my journey over the last, several months, where I started realizing that I needed to start learning other things, that I had to not just look at the fact that, okay, I went into the financial services space and I was able to help people, but I had gotten to a point where I kind of plateaued. I wasn't moving forward. I wasn't able to connect as much as I had in the past. And this being what I currently use to make sure that I am in a position where I am not going to just be surviving, I had to kind of think about how is that going to change? And the only way things have changed for me, and I believe with any of us over the years, is getting more information, getting more utilizing tools that are available, and working together as a community to be able to help build, create something new that out of something that maybe we've never thought was going to be beneficial to us. And so, a good part of what I'm saying to you is that over the past, I would say probably now 9 months, I have learned things about business structure. That being the fact that businesses are not just about you have an idea and you really want to open a business as a brick and mortar, or maybe you have something. It's a necessity, really, of being able to have an option that you can use to create additional income streams and opportunities for yourself. Because with the business properly structured, you have also the opportunity to receive funding, grants, and other things that many of us really need and that can benefit. And even if it's something that we don't think we need right now, the fact that we create a business, whether it's a family business, it doesn't have to be the traditional type of situation that most people think. I mean, my first major business was a franchise. It was a brick and mortar franchise. That's traditional. But since that time, I've expanded into many different types of businesses that I can see myself doing, because having business structure, I've been able to now obtain the capital that allows me to do the things that I thought I would never be able to do. And so And that's because I understand how to utilize it. I didn't know that these things existed before. I didn't realize that I could take something that I decided was an idea or something that I'd like to do and turn it into something that can literally make me hundreds of thousands of dollars. And then we have the opportunity of utilizing, again, the social media. Social media is not the friend of a lot of people my age, and I'm still learning. It's still hard for me to put things together. But if you think about the fact that if you have an idea and you take that idea, that's one of the things that, I would like to see Helen do. Helen has a reach to a lot of women all across the country. But one of the things about that reach is that she is not including the social media, which would allow even more. And that properly structured with a business model that would allow her to use that social media to reach them, to reach more people, and to create the opportunities that I really see that really would be beneficial for Helen and so many other women, I'm sure, that are on this call that have ideas or have something that they have either started or something that they've been doing that would work so much better. And the reason why I'm able to now be in a position to talk about this is because I took the time to do what I talked about, not just the learning part, but I invested. I invested in learning in the information and being part of different masterminds where people were teaching this in ways that I never thought I would be able to learn. I actually had a young man that was teaching me how to do some of the information that I'm now able to share with people. And he wasn't charging me anything, but I wasn't understanding it. And it wasn't because he wasn't charging me anything. It was the fact that that information, for whatever, didn't resonate with me, and sometimes it takes a minute because the same thing that he was teaching me that I had to pay a lot of money to learn now, I could have learned for free. But there, for whatever reason, a lot of times we don't learn as well when we don't put the investment in. And then in terms of the focus, my dream has gotten so much bigger as I have gotten older than it was even when I was in my as a young person. My dream is to leave a $30 million legacy behind. And I only got that dream because I was talking to someone, it's a good friend of mine that's a banker, and he was telling me how he talks to people and he shares different things with them. And he was sharing something with them, and he was talking about, something that was a low number, and it wasn't a low number in my mind initially, but it was a low number to the people he was talking about. And they basically told him that you get more attention and you get more help when you have bigger ideas, bigger dreams, bigger things that you're trying to achieve than to just talk about, something where I was talking about $3 million. I felt if I had a $3 million legacy that I could leave behind, I'm good. That would be a nice little situation for me to have, not only to have take care of myself and then be able to pass down. And when he shared that with me, I started thinking, why did I settle for $3 million? Why is it that we settle? What is it that we're afraid of when, the worst that could happen is that we don't hit that 30 million and you hit somewhere in between. But if you only strive for that 3 million and you don't hit the 3 million, then you're at even a lower situation. And so we have got to start, dreaming. And then, for me, in terms of the whole transformation, my mindset, has definitely had to shift. And the having a mentor and a coach and someone that's kind of showing me how just basic information that I took for granted can be changed around, and how this information can apply not just to young people, but can apply to somebody like myself. Now, it takes me a lot longer sometimes to figure or to catch on to some of the things that have been shared. But I do see it as an opportunity that if we come together as a community, which is something that I'm in the process of putting together, that we can take the ideas, the different business models that we already have, started, and the different talents that we have, and come together as a community and start to really make changes that we have been talking about. And so what I want to do in terms of the piece of just the whole mindset part is now bring up my good friend Daphne. And Daphne is she has a transformation of kind of philosophy called the Happy Lady. And I'm going to let you let her share with you more about her and how she helps you to become more happy, because we know that if you're happy, you're able to do a lot more than you are when you're stressed. And so, Daphne, I'm gonna let you talk about your happiness.
And Wanda, before we do that, can we, Bianca Mitchell wanted to share where she is in her journey.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Bianca, are you still with us? Bianca?
I think she left, Helen.
She gone? Okay. All right, go ahead.
Well,
Daph-
hello, everybody. It's such a pleasure being here with you this Sunday afternoon. I am so grateful. Thank you, Helen. Thank you, Wanda, for inviting me. I'm just going to spend a few minutes with you today because, yes, we are on a journey. We are definitely on a journey. My name again is Daphne Evans. I am the Happy Lady Speaks. Originally from Cleveland, Ohio, where I am currently. I'm visiting, but I live in Las Vegas, Nevada. Between Cleveland and Las Vegas, I've lived in a number of places. And this journey that I'm on, as it relates to helping people unstick themselves and move into another realm, this has been a 30-year plus journey. So let me give you a little bit of background about how this all came about, because a lot of people want to know, were you always like this? How'd you get like this? So my husband and I moved from Cleveland to Los Angeles, California in the mid 80s. During that time was a time where, as many of you or some of you may remember, was during the HIV/AIDS pandemic. And it was really a terrible thing. People were very confused. People ostracized people because they didn't know where this came from, how you can catch it. And I saw people being pigeonholed and not understood. Now, the person who I am, this was all very new to me, coming from a place called Cleveland, right? Not really seen that or anything like that before. But I have never liked the idea of people being set apart or people being made, there's a difference. So what did I do? I'm really philanthropic and I love helping people. So I go and I volunteer at an organization that works specifically with people who are dealing with these difficulties. It was AIDS Project Los Angeles. And my purpose was because I wanted to understand and I wanted to see what was going on. And I wanted to touch these people and understand, where are you? And it was amazing. I was in the food bank. On Tuesdays, the public could come and donate food. On Thursdays, the clients could come and shop. Because during that time, at the onset of the disease, medications, medical care, everything in life for these people was super expensive. We're talking literally thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for maybe 1 month of medication. So this is what the organization dealt with in all facets of helping those individuals dealing with this crisis. So they would come on Thursdays and I would be there, and I don't know a stranger. And in talking with people as I'm helping them fulfill their shopping list, I would ask them things like, so how's your day? Now, keep in mind, we all have struggles, right? We all have things that we're dealing with. These are people who, for the most part, are probably not with us today because they were terminally ill. But when I would say to most of them, how are you doing today? They would say things like this. I went to the beach today and I saw the ocean and the waves were really beautiful. I saw the sunshine and I was really looking at, it was just the day was so bright. Or I went for a ride and I had the windows down and I could really hear the birds chirping. And it had been a long time since I really listened to the birds chirping. And I was blown away with all of these conversations. And the reason I was blown away is because people who knew they were going to die talked about nothing but things of life. And the first thing that I would think about with every conversation is I knew folks who had 2 legs, 2 arms, a heart, 2 lungs, a brain. They had good jobs, they had cars, they had families, and complained about everything. And it was with that experience that my life changed, that my life broadened. And I knew that no matter what it is that you're going through, you can always see the light. Now, that might not be easy for a lot of people, but the possibilities are just astonishing. And so then I went on my journey and became the Happy Lady Speaks, because I realized that no matter where you were, there's always a better side. No matter where you're starting, there's always a better side. So if we are surviving, right, we're surviving, we can do more. We can shape our world. Now we deal, we were talking today in terms of financial, but I also want to bring up that in the beginning, when we were talking about, or Wanda was talking about what thriving, and I made some notes. Some of you said things like my peace, finding my peace, considering the climate. How do you measure your peace? Building a space for rest, right? This is where we get to where we're thriving. So one of the things that's really important is understanding what thriving does mean for you. It may mean establishing a legacy of $30 billion. It may mean establishing a health regimen that will allow you to live for the next 15, 20, 30 years, whatever that is. It may mean situating your family so that they live well, so that you travel with one another. So it could mean something as simple as just having Sunday dinner together. But we have to understand that whatever it is, there's a base of where we are today compared to where we want to be, because there's always room for growth. How many of you understand or have even a plan as to where you want to be, let's just say tomorrow? Because the past is the past. The present is where we are right now. The future actually starts in 60 seconds from now. What do you want your tomorrow to even be like? Where do you want to go? How many of us ladies on the call today, and we can have maybe a couple of people share, how you plan your week. What is it that you want to do? Who has a plan? Does anyone?
Daphne, are you frozen? No. Daphne, when you say plan the week, are you suggesting that on Sunday nights we should be planning the whole week, or just jumping into
Yeah.
it?
Well, actually, that is something that is really worthwhile to do instead of waking up that day and say, what am I going to do today? If you do plan your week, here's something that's really interesting, and this is a true statistic. Many people who live day to day actually just look at, I've got to get through the day. There are certain socioeconomic groups who look at daily living. There are certain socioeconomic groups, as we're going up the food chain, that look at monthly living. There are certain socioeconomic groups, as you're moving continuously, that look at the year, and the very top look at 10 years. So if we're looking at planning daily, it's almost like flying by the seat of your pants. But if you at least have some kind of plan that takes you out, then what that does, it does help to regulate your peace, because you get up on a daily basis knowing what it is that you're going to accomplish, whatever those objectives are. If you want to call them goals, yes. But having an established plan is very substantial to thriving into the future so that you're not surviving. So that's what I'm talking about. How are we looking at our days, our weeks, our months? Does anyone want to contribute?
This is
I'll jump
Patricia.
in.
Hi there.
Patricia, who was that was
Oh,
speaking?
well, this is Patricia. Um, I do plan um, I have my things planned. If I get up in the morning, I smile because I made it through the night, and then I have my Tai Chi every morning, and I meet with a group of friends, and we do Tai Chi. We walk and we exercise before the Tai Chi, and we do our Tai Chi. And then, depending on what day of the week it is, I go to my fiber arts. We meet by Zoom on a Tuesday. Then on Thursday, I meet with my knitting group or crochet group. I do water aerobics on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. I do water walking on Friday with some of my Tai Chi friends. I tutor two kids on Saturday. I have a new one I'm going to meet what's today, Sunday, Monday, tomorrow. I have another one who's a little bit older. We got to get back to his reading again. So I tutor kids in reading, and I wanted to do more. I have a little neighbor across the street, I mean, next to me, and he's been busy, but I'm going to read with him. So I have all this knowledge I need to impart on these kids, as the parents were busy with their schedules, but I want to teach the kids, how to read a page, how to study. One little boy I've been working with, he's reading so well now. He's 9 years old. He wants to run for office
Oh my God.
at his school, and he became a student of the month with his teachers, and everybody noticed how well he's been reading. And I've been working with him about 6 months, once a week, and it's just beautiful to watch him bloom, and so. Um,
That's phenomenal. That's
yeah.
phenomenal. That's phenomenal. And I'm gonna say something. I'm going to say something and address what you were talking about specifically. Was there anyone else who wanted to share?
Yeah, you have a
Hi, this is
hand,
Sharon. This is
Sharon. Go ahead.
Sharon. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. I am a perfectionist in Reformation.
Uh-huh.
And so for me, it's like to find my thriving, I actually have to deconstruct all of the things that I've put in place to make sure everything gets done on time the way I need it to get done. In order for this, if not, then I get all this anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it's like I'm not the anti-planner because I low-key plan everything, but I'm embracing how not to plan because I've already have like 8 plans in play.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
So go ahead.
no, go on. Go on.
And so for me to work my way into thriving, I have an active plan of I resist planning any more things right now.
Mm-hmm.
At least for the first part of the week.
Right. Right.
But before this, when I started the month, the year, the day, I had 17 plans and 17 different options, and which is going to work in plan B and plan C and plan A. And I at times you lose the plot. At times
Yeah.
it's like you've planned away your joy, you planned away your happiness. It's
Mm-hmm.
like the happiness comes in the unexpected moments.
Mm-hmm.
And so I almost have like the glasses for what I have to do
Mm-hmm.
and the glasses of where do I make space for living, for loving, for having fun. And I don't
Right.
mean being in a relationship. I mean just I walked down the store today and I had a 20-minute conversation with my neighbor, and that was just great. I didn't plan I was supposed to be at work, or I was supposed to get the groceries done, or the kids done, or someone's supposed to get homework, or I'm supposed to finish this book, or
And what that does for you, the flexibility, the openness of your life is what's bringing you joy, and that's where you're thriving. So the
yes.
point is, it is different for everyone, but at least to have an idea. And that's where the getting out of survival mode, because oh my gosh, I just woke up and oh, I didn't realize I had this appointment that's in 10 minutes, and oh, I got to go pick up. So oh, I forgot my girlfriend's coming. I got to go. If we have an idea as to where we're going, then we attain some kind of peace. And we do have to have that wiggle room for fun. Now, the other thing that I was going to address was with, and I'm so sorry, the first, what was her name? Barbara? The first woman who was doing the tutoring and,
Trisha, Miss Jones.
okay, Ms. Jones. There's a study, and I don't know if you all are familiar with the Blue Zones. The Blue Zones was by Dan Butner. It's a documentary on 5 specific locations in the world where people have been found to live well over 100. Loma Linda, California is one of them. There's a place in Japan, Costa Rica, Greece, and I forgot there's the 5th place. I forgot where the 5th place is. Well, I have a friend who's doing a documentary, and hers is on the Black Blue Zones. And one of the specific things, especially that we found in both societies, is community. Community, communing with people, getting with your community, being sociable, having a place. And organizations like this, organizations like what you put together, Helen, are excellent. I mean, absolutely phenomenal for Black women, especially because we get a chance to come together and be together, elevate together, share together, work together, go out together. I am here in Cleveland because of my 50th high school reunion. And for this entire weekend, and including of earlier today, we were all together. We had brunch today, and just that sense of community to catch up with what's been going on over the last 50 years was absolutely phenomenal. I mean, absolutely phenomenal, because we got to share and we got to see that our lives have been in all different arenas, right? Some people have had some tremendous challenges, children passing, spouses passing, divorce, ailments, illnesses, everything, taking care of parents and taking care of children, everything. But the ability for us to commune is something that has allowed all of us to catch up. So that when you are in a safe space and you can be with one another, and you are in the level where you're supposed to be, you've got an increase of 3 very special chemicals in your body: oxytocin, serotonin, and dopamine. Those are your happy hormones. They really come out and they make you feel better. They calm you. Conversely, you've got cortisol, which causes more stress. And if you are not in a safe space, if you are continuously by yourself, if you are not interacting with other people, the cortisol levels can actually increase because of loneliness and not sharing. So it's so important for us to get on a level and understand that our positivity and our happiness and our joy and our thriving are all processes that we have to continue to move from. Now, does that mean if you're on that level that you don't have to deal with anything? Like life won't life. Life won't be lifing. Life is always going to be lifing. Life has been lifing for me. Not every day is a happy day with roses and sunshine. But one of the things that I learned and that I help to teach people is you don't have to stay there. you really, really can move. And it really is mental, but it is kind of difficult, and it can be. So what do we do? What do we do when life be lifing? First of all, take accountability for what's happening to you, for where you are at the moment. So awareness, name what it is, where you are, awareness. This is where I am right now. Yes, it really sucks, but I got to get out of this because I intend to get out of this. I refuse to be in this space. Alignment. That's where I want to be. I want to be over there. I don't want to be here. I want to be over there. So now, what are the things that I can do to get from where I am right now to where I want to be? First of all, sounds really weird, but find 3 good things about where you are. There's always some good in something. Don't forget, I interacted with terminally ill people who found something positive all the time, regardless of their terminal illness. Find 3 things of where you are right now. Another short story. My mom had Alzheimer's. My dad died in 2001 here in Cleveland. My mom and my dad and my brother were here. My dad passed away in 2001. Between 2001 and 2003 or 2002, I was in LA. My mom developed, it was grief, but she was also older. So it was Alzheimer's. And I didn't know that. My brother was here. He was totally unable to take care of it. He actually called me one day and said, I'm going to commit her because I can't deal with her. I don't know what's wrong with her. And it's really interfering. My husband, who's also from Cleveland, flew to Cleveland and got my mom and moved her to LA to live with us so that we could take care of her. Went through a battery of medical appointments and found out that she had Alzheimer's and dementia. I also had at that time my 5-year-old daughter. She's now 27 years old. Going to be 28 next week. But I had to deal with her. I had to raise her. I was working. I had to have people come into the house and help me with my mom. I had all kinds of things. I had the episodes with my mom, and I had my little girl. And dealing with all that. And I had a brother back here in Ohio who was he was just being really difficult, really, really difficult. And it was not pretty, and it was not easy, but I knew I had to get to the other side. My mom ended up having a stroke. The stroke actually caused her to develop pneumonia, and she passed away. And I still had a host of things to take care of after that point. So it was a really sad time for me, but I needed to pass through it. I needed to accept where I was at that time, deal with all of the financial stuff that I had to deal with, do the whole services, basically on my own. Yes, I had my husband, but I had to do all of that basically by myself. And I had to move through because I still had that little girl that I needed to take care of, and I needed to be strong for her. So I really knew I have to get over there. So I had to figure out, how am I going to do it? Every day I've got to put one foot in front of the other foot in front of the other. I had to find the sunshine, and I had to remember the people who were dying, who showed me that there's life even though you're dying. So it's not easy, but we have to figure out where we want to go and then figure out how we're going to get there. And one of the best ways is gratitude in 3 things that are good about where we are, and hang on to those 3 things. I used to keep a gratitude journal, and I would write in my gratitude journal every day. But my rule was this: I couldn't repeat. I really suggest, if you're not doing a gratitude journal, start one and don't repeat, because the point is there's always something to be grateful for that's in addition to what you're already grateful for. So first of all is awareness. Secondly is alignment, aligning with where you want to be. And then thirdly, taking action. You got to take a bold action all the time. all the time, whether that is aligning with your financial dreams, aligning with your health dreams, aligning with your community dreams, aligning with your family needs, aligning with your travel needs. You've got to take a bold step each and every single day towards where that is you want to be. If you could take, and you don't have to answer out loud, but if you could take one bold step this week towards aligning to what that next thing is that you're looking for, that's going to cause you extreme joy and make you know that you're thriving, what is that step going to be? Write it down. And then once you write it down, put it someplace where you're going to see it. Put it on your bathroom mirror, put it on your refrigerator, put it on your ceiling of your room, put it where you can see it. Always know that sisterhood is a success multiplier. What you have here is awesome. Let it grow. Be a part. Be an active part. Get together. Reinforce. Thriving is not a solo sport. It really isn't. It's really a sisterhood. It's really a commune with each other, communicate with one another. Know that where your past was and where your present is doesn't mean your future is going to have to be the same thing. You can rewrite your stories and you can project your joy. Take bold steps and know that you're worth it. Know that you deserve it. And go take it by the handles and roll with it because you're worth it. Thank you so much. That's my time. Wanda, I'm going to pass it over to you unless someone has any additional questions.
Does anyone have any other questions that they want to ask of Daphne? I truly appreciate that, Daphne. I think everyone enjoyed your perspectives, and it's very much a part of what I was sharing in regards to Lyft. But before I kind of start wrapping up, is there any questions that you
I
have?
see Carrie Ann has her hand up, but I wanted to say to you, Daphne, that when you were speaking about, where the joy that you saw this with the COVID patients, despite knowing they were in their last days, I saw that during the AIDS epidemic in the 90s when I was living in California,
Yes.
working with guys who all had many of them had HIV, and they were never blue. They just accepted. I'll never forget Frank Colot's. He passed on, but he was just always upbeat, and he just said,
Yeah,
it's life. I made these decisions, and I'm living with it. So I find sometimes when I'm beating myself up, I always think of him. And I'm like,
exactly. And
he
that's where
knows.
I volunteered for AIDS Project Los Angeles. That's where I saw this. And it was,
I was living in Cali.
you were
That's
living in
when.
Cali. And we moved there in 1986. And it was amazing how people kept telling me, oh, no, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't volunteer there. It's going to be dangerous. Da, 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 da. And it was the most rewarding. It was one of the most rewarding parts of my life. And it is what created the Happy Lady Speaks today.
Right. Okay. I'm gonna make a Carrie Ann, you had a question. Sorry, Wanda. Go ahead, Carrie Ann.
Hello, good evening. So I'm asking in terms of because I'm right on that journey right now and just having a joyous time, just embracing all the things that I'm experiencing right now because I have shifted my perspective. And I used to have a thing where I would tell my son, shift your mind, shift your perspective. So if you actually like intentionally work on your mind, it will change how you kind of see things. So, but my question is for younger folks that might be on here. Um, when it comes to interacting with like some older folks that have lived their life and things like that, sometimes some of us can kind of project our fears onto the younger folks. And it makes it that much harder for them to kind of see their way through because they're feeling like they have to, like the young lady said, plan every single thing out and afraid to make the mistake because of the fear that older people may be putting on them, like whether it be a parent or whatever that's putting it on them, that the parent may not be in that progressive space to be able to say, oh, you know what, that, telling my younger self to go out and take chances and things like that. So what recommendation would you have for a younger person on how to navigate that space?
Well, one of the things that I actually see a lot of young people right now is they really have a mind of their own. And, that could be a double-edged sword according to how we feel in certain instances for them. But some of the younger people just are not paying a lot of attention to baby boomers or whatever the generation is right after us or before us, what our fears are. I think that's dangerous in terms of us projecting our fears, because of course that can affect their longevity in terms of their financial future. The words that we say, of course, that's what a lot of baby boomers have in terms of issues today, in terms of what our parents said or didn't say or didn't do. But I would just really stress that we allow young people to chart their own pathway as it relates to where their futures are. Let them communicate, let them, my daughter will be, like I said, 28. I have a 21-year-old son. And one of the things that I try to do is listen to them and understand that I am in a different time zone, so to speak, than they are. But there's things that we can both learn from one another. So the biggest thing that I could say is listen and be a guide. You don't have to dictate, but be a guide so they can weigh their thinking plus that other thinking, what's in the middle. And that's my suggestion.
And then what would be your suggestion for the younger person that's receiving that information?
Well, if they're
Because
receiving
wait, one other thing. So the younger person that's receiving that information, but they're not that free spirited to just say, they actually try to be respectful, and they're trying to toe that line, but kind of juggling at the same time, feeling the projection. So what would you say from the younger person's perspective?
when I talk to younger people, I give them the information. I give them data. If it's really, a scenario where they have to have data, I give them data. I give them my perspective. I listen to what they say, and then I try to be a guide as best as I can. Now, here's the thing, and I do this with my kids. So again, 21 and 28. I'm grateful that I'm still here so that if they make mistakes, I'm here to help them. I think one of the biggest things that a lot of folks do is they feel that their kids are whatever age, and it's like, go off and go do what you want to do. If you're fortunate enough to still have a relationship with your kids or influence others who are younger, I think you should just let them be. Let them, if they are listening to you in any way and they make some mistakes, don't let them fall off into the ocean, but let them see where life can take them. And if they really respect you, they're going to come back and they're going to listen even more. I think that's something that we have to do. We have to let them grow. We cannot keep them from everything. And as long as you're around and they trust you, then you should let them trust you. They'll come back. Does that help?
And if I can add just one thing,
Of course.
I think that, I'm 45, and there's huge differences in generational communication.
Mhm.
So I'm on the cusp of being raised the old way, but having to learn to navigate the current way.
Mhm.
And I will say that my mom, her mom, and all the generations afterwards weren't taught to communicate with us as peers or as you have the same autonomy as I have.
Mhm.
I think even if we rely on the way we were spoken to, or the way we were taught that we should be spoken to based upon our generational position, you'll find that that language is automatically chilling to building connections and having a very open discourse. I think so much of it is about you owning your own experience and talking about what you learned from them and sharing that experience with the other person, no matter what their age is, but especially with the younger age, and give them that grace to accept what couldn't be learned or just have a really good interaction with someone on your walk that day. But I think we haven't been taught or given examples until we start to learn and take those in for ourselves.
I agree. So just to give you some perspective, like I said, I just had my 50th high school reunion. I just turned 68 years old, August 8th. My mother passed away when
You look good.
Thank you. My mom was born in 1915 in Meridian, Mississippi. She lived her adult life in the Bronx, New York. So if there's any question, and my mom was a Scorpio and she was 5 feet 2 inches tall. She was a lovely lady who would cut your knees off at your kneecaps and keep going. And if you didn't like what she said, that was a bad day for you. But she kept it rolling. So don't get twisted. I know, I know. So here's what I did though. And I do believe that having kids younger, I had my daughter when I was 40. I had my son when I was 46. So I do honestly believe that I took the good and the bad, and I knew, okay, well, this felt good and this is really, really good. And this didn't feel so good. And I just translated the good with what my internal feelings were. And that's how I dealt with my kids. And I purely believe that that is what has helped me talk to them and their friends. And, I don't want to say relate, but I am not my mom in that respect. And I think that that's what I learned, because trust me, my mom did not care.
Why do you have an opinion is what they thinking in their mind. They say, excuse me, I didn't ask you to think on this. I gave you instructions.
Exactly. So as I'm relating information to the younger people, it's just important to relate it in a way where I can talk to them, they can talk to me, we can have a conversation, and then we can hopefully come to a medium that's going to be for their benefit. And that's my objective, for it to be to their benefit, because it really is their life. It really is their life. I just want to help make it better and leave a legacy for them. I think I froze for a second, but it's really their lives.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Cheyenne. I'm Daphne's daughter. Question. What advice do you have for someone who hasn't had much experience with younger generations, but wants to break that communication barrier with the younger generation, but they don't know how to?
In terms, is that for me or is that for Wanda?
That's for you.
So in terms of someone in my
Yes.
age group,
yes. So like your generation and older, or even those who were born in the 70s, just anyone who's older than the age of 35, because I know that the communication barrier is so different. And like you said, you've done a great job. But I know that not everyone has had the opportunity to be around younger people.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't have the experience and they don't know what to look for when they're trying to communicate. So what advice do you have for those in any of the older generations that are looking to break that communication barrier, but don't necessarily know how to?
So what I would say is, first of all, you said something that's really key, and that is they want to communicate. And I think
Yes.
they have to want to communicate. And if they want to communicate and understand, then that's a start. My next thing with them would be to listen to what the younger person is saying, so that you can at least have discourse. One of the biggest issues that I see with a lot of people who grew up in the 60s and 70s, and it's like that one-track mind. It's the one-track mind. What I said, that's the way it is, and you're not going to do anything differently. But having a willingness to listen and then meet in a happy road. But that's the first thing. You have to have the willingness, and then you have to go from there.
Thank you.
I think that, I was going to say one other thing. Yeah, I see somebody said in the chat, agree to let the youth chart their own path, and we can be there for guidance and support, but also be their biggest fan. Absolutely. Absolutely. We have wisdom of experience to offer as needed. Absolutely. Anyone else? I think you're muted, Wanda.
Wanda.
Sorry for that. I mean, okay. I was just trying to make sure that we had talked about anyone, but everyone seems to really enjoy this whole conversation in terms of the mindset and transformation, and just segueing it back to the whole concept of lift, and the concept of being able to thrive. You know, this obviously is something that's very much a big part of being able to get past survival mode into a mode where a situation where you're thriving, because you have to be willing to, we talked a lot not about how this also relates to younger people, but in bringing it back to the initial conversation on people that are in our age group of 50 and over, and being able to now, get out of that survival mindset and back into that thriving mindset that, as a young person, we basically that's what was our goal, to thrive, to be able to achieve so much, and then we get into that mode where now we start talking only about survival, about making it from day to day, because so many things start impacting us. And so the purpose of this whole situation was to not only talk about the transformation that needs to take place for us to be part of that thriving, but also to give practical steps that we can do, because you have the non-tangible, and then you have the tangible. What does that look like as a tangible step of what we can do to for those of us who are looking at part of that whole thing of survival, of being the fact that we are not financially in the place that we need to be. And that was kind of how this whole thing came about for me, because I had to definitely, have the mindset that I wanted to do something that was going to change where I was in terms of my mindset, and not just looking at the fact that, because at one point I was really believing that I was just stuck. I didn't have any other options. I was older. I was in a dead end situation. And I just felt that that was all that my life was going to be. And I just had to just continue to put my head down and hope and pray. But it comes to more than just hoping and praying. We have to, seek additional information, which is why, again, I talk about, learning those new skills, which has always pretty much taken me from where I was into a new phase in my life. And then being willing to take whatever you have, whatever resource you have, and investing in yourself, so that you are able to do more, because nothing is achieved by you just staying where you are. You have to put something in it, whether it be your time, your money, and making sure that whatever your, you know, and your health, and then, you know, making sure your focus is right. You know, we focus on all kinds of things for other people. Take that focus and put it back on the things that are important for us to be able to thrive. And so in doing so, I'm going to hopefully share my screen of question that I want to kind of start to leave us with to think about, and that is, what does thriving look like for meaning yourself right now? You don't have to answer that, for us, unless you want to. You put something in your chat. But what does it look like, for you? Really thinking about where you are and what that really looks like, and thinking about the different things that have been talked about, and especially, Daphne talking about, the whole happiness and what that actually, is, and then also looking at what skills or knowledge do you I need to seek right now to be able to transform where I am into somewhere I really want to be. Because, if you're in a situation where you feel stuck, where you feel that where you've had to pivot in regards to your career, where you may be in retirement, but you're looking at that retirement is not what you need it to be, what new skills or knowledge do you need to seek right now? Invest. How can I invest in yourself financially, emotionally, and spiritually? Because again, that all plays a role in everything that we're talking about. And then, where do you need to, redirect your energy to prioritize? Because we prioritize everyone else, and then ultimately, we lose out because we're the ones that are the glue. And so if that glue falls apart, breaks apart because we're prioritizing everyone else, then everyone falls apart. And I've watched that happen where people prioritize because they think they have to. If I don't do this, this is not going to happen, whatever. And then something happens with them. And then not only do they fall apart, but everyone else around them falls apart because they were the glue, but they didn't make sure that they were in a position to continue to be that glue. And then lastly, transform. What would transformation look like for you and your family? Because it's not just an individual situation. It's also about, your family. It was great to hear that Daphne's daughter was on, and to have her share, because, I talked about this experience from me looking at what I have done recently in my life as a 6-year-old. And actually, I'm working with a lot of younger people who have given me a lot of inspiration, and they're very willing to accept, what I have to offer, as well. But just that energy that they have, and looking at, and it gives me a new sense of purpose and the determination, to do more, to make sure that my life, accomplishes a little bit more before I leave. And so, I want to basically give you kind of a call to action, because we talk a lot about things. We talk so much about, different things that, we need to look at, we need to do something about. But the bottom line is, what do we actually do to allow that to be accomplished? What is the one step that you can take this week to move closer to thriving? It doesn't have to be, leaps and bounds. Everything starts with that just, single step. But what is the one step that you can take this week that is going to allow you, to be closer to thriving? One of the things that I have done is I am, building a space. I'm building a community that is all about this aspect of thriving. And, a lot of it is talking about finances, because that's where I started this journey at. But I understand that it's not just about finances. It's also about sisterhood, support, and strategies, because all of that is necessary if we are going to be, successful. And so, I offer you an invitation for those of you who want to maybe, help me build, this community where we can kind of, look at ways, tangible ways, the way that I have been learning, the way that and me being able to share, because mentorship and being a part of something that's part of a community is the way that we're going to be able to move our pathway to move forward. Just like what Helen has allowed us to be able to be exposed to so much different information. That information is very good, but we also have to have the tools to be able to move our life forward in regards to what does that allow us? How do we thrive with the information and putting that other support together? And so, those of you that are interested in maybe learning more about the community that I'm building, which is as a support, it's an extension, it's not a replacement of anything that you're already doing, but it's a way for us to come together and to see how we can thrive, together. And it's really about, again, utilizing the tools that I've been learning about, the tools of business, using the business structure of business funding, of digital tools that I've learned about that I never thought at my age I would think was something that I would be a part of. But I because I know how I've been able to receive it and participate, I believe it's something that I can definitely impart to others, especially in my age group. And so, lastly, what I want to say is that, and here's my information. I was trying to create a link to be able to allow you to to provide your information if you're interested in more information, and also being able to get back in touch with Daphne as well. But if you are interested, I would appreciate it maybe if you put your name and maybe your email in the chat, and I can get that information from Helen as well. Or you can use the information here and send an email, or you have a phone number. And then those of you who are on Instagram, I'm learning, and so I do have my Instagram. But lastly, I want to say, sisters, we are not done. We are not too late. We are not invisible. This is our golden season. We are here. We are here to learn. We are here to invest. We are here to focus, and we are here to transform. And together, we are thriving, not surviving. And I hope that you received something from this information that meant something to you, that touched you, that moved you, that most of all will help you take action, whether or not it's the action of you wanting to join my community to see how we can thrive together, or whether it's just the fact that you take one step this week that toward something that you have been meaning to do, that you want to do, that you feel will help you move from where you are to a position where you're able to thrive and not survive. And so I thank you, Helen, for the opportunity to be a part of this. I mean, not be a part, but to be one to present. And I also thank Daphne for what you have brought to the table, and all of you who have joined to hear what we've had to say. And that's all I have.
Thank you, ladies. Both of you. Good information. And I see Daphne has put her info in the chats as well, so you can reach out to her there. Before we sign off, does anyone have any pending questions that you want to ask, or just something that you want to share? What has been your journey I know Carrie Ann has shared where she is. And we're all in different places, you know. I'm transitioning in many ways. As you know, I physically moved, but you know, and that entails a lot of mental juggling as well. So, um, nobody, no questions. Okay, getting some thank yous here. So, all right, folks, on that note, Wanda, thank you so much. And I'm sure we'll see you again. Daphne, you're part of the family. Come back whenever. I think people will
I
enjoy
certainly
you as
will.
well. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Oh, Carrie Ann has her hand up. What you got, Carrie Ann?
Just wanted to say thank you guys for doing this. I invited a couple of people to come on and listen in. But one of the things that I recently started doing was meditating, or is meditating, and that has actually and adding it in with my devotion in the morning, and it sets my day up just right. So just another little thing that people can also consider as part of their process to get to where they're trying to go to be thriving and
Yeah,
have joy.
it's true.
So I'm glad that she shared that. I'm going to drop in the chats every Wednesday morning at 6 a.m. Eastern Time when Black women gather, joins online to do a moment of meditation, chair yoga, something of a moment of mindfulness. Just and it's the middle of the week and it's early in the morning, so it's before you start your day. So feel free to drop in. I know East Coast people, West Coast people are like, I am not getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I don't want you to.
I've yet to, I've wanted to, I definitely have, but it is
At
something.
3 in the morning.
Well, I get up sometimes. Sometimes I stay up. But one of the things I will say is that the meditation piece was one of the things when I was really going through a lot in my job that every morning before I went to work, because I had to be there for 6 in the morning, so I was up early, pretty much early anyhow. But I made a point to get that meditation in because it made a difference. I believe me. Yeah, and just even taking the time to take breaths, deep breaths, deep breathing.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't do anything.
Yeah, it's a combination. Sharon usually does chair yoga. Ahava does more, I guess, meditation type stuff. And Bianca does, they do a combination of breathing. And Nicole just started with us, and she's really good too. She does like yoga, so it's really good. And it's only for like 20 to 20 minutes. Try because we know you got to get out and go to work. Um, and then I heard Miss Jones say that she's doing Tai Chi. And I don't know what the rest of you do, but I
I
lost
walk.
15 pounds. I
Yeah,
lost 15 pounds while walking every morning
yeah,
in
that's great.
Jamaica and trying to keep it off, y'all. So I'm still walking 3 to 5 miles at least 3 to 5 times a week. So
Mhm.
yeah. And you walk too, Daphne?
I do. I walk every day. The only day I
Yeah,
don't
at least
is
5 days, Ellen.
yeah.
Yeah.
I do 6. I don't worry about walking on some. I guess that's that part of the planning stuff. I don't worry about Sunday. Whenever I get in, I get in, but it's not like I'm intentional to do all my walking, but I do 6 miles Monday through Saturday. So
Right.
yeah.
Are you fast-paced walking or just because I walk for distance, so I'm not really
I
walking
walk for
fast.
distance, but if I'm going uphill or in an incline, I'm doing that fast.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
That's
I
the
gotta,
thing. I had to find hills. Yeah.
I gotta up it up a mile.
You can.
All right,
Mindset.
you look great. So,
Thank
are
you.
you also working out besides walking?
I lift sometimes,
Good.
but mostly of what I'm doing is walking. I mean, I do go to the gym and I lift, but I concentrate on the walking,
Okay.
and that walking and just living. I get up with the intention of living. I don't think about age. I don't think about that. And I think a lot of people put a lot of thought into, oh, I'm 20, so I should act like this, or I'm 40, so I should act and dress like this, or I'm 60 and I should act and dress like. I just get up and live. And if you just get up and live, the number doesn't matter because you'll still end up doing the things that you're going to do until God decides this is the day you're not going to do them. And there you go.
That's true. Yeah. I'm putting these things in the chats for you, for
Sounds
those of
like
you
you,
who get my,
Helen. Sounds like you, Helen.
Yeah, I definitely, I'm just living. Trust me. But one thing I don't do, and I say, they say before you go to bed at night, you should have map out what you want to do the next day. And I do find that there's value in doing that, but I tend not to do it, but it would make for a more organized life. You wake up with a mission.
Well, if nothing else, right, I put all my appointments and stuff on my calendar. So if you just look at your calendar the night before, because a lot of times it's in my calendar, I forget about it. So if I look at it at night before, and even in the morning to refresh my mind, because I'll have like, 3 or 4 things to forget one real easy. But that's a start, I would think.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're self-employed or you have any type of programs or whatever that you're involved in that require you to kind of accomplish certain things within a time frame, it's definitely important for you to plan out and look at what's going on the evening before and the morning before. Now I'm saying all that is because I don't do it, but I know that it's important. And when I do it, it does make a definite difference in how things get accomplished and how much gets accomplished.
Yeah. So I've dropped in the chat the YouTube channel where you can see this video later. And I've also dropped in the chat if you're on Facebook, join our Facebook page. And I dropped in the chat um, the link for Wednesday morning yoga. And I'm going to leave here for you. I have a store that I need to put some new inventory in. But if you just want to buy a t-shirt or a journal, oh, she said do journal, didn't you, Daphne? So if you need a journal, you can buy a When Black Women Gather journal and start doing your
Right.
gratefulness. But so that's all I have. I'm gonna take all the spotlights off and we'll do our farewell. Those of you who want to stick around for a minute, we can chat afterwards, but let's in the interest of time, let our guests, how do I remove all the spotlights at once? I don't know, so I'll do them one at a time. Um, so we will let's see. Bye, Diane. Okay, okay. So for those of you who hung out, thank you so much today. And for those of you who've been here before, this is when we say when Black women gather,
Amazing
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 things
things
happen.
happen.
happen. Thank you again for another amazing Sunday. And I appreciate you, Wanda and Daphne.
Yes.
I'm going to end the recording and we can chat. There's so much going on right now.